This is Americana Podcast, the 51st state. Hello and welcome back, Americana Podcast listeners. Today's episode is, in the simplest terms, a love story. But not that kind pulled off the shelf from a bookstore or played out in a 90s romantic comedy. This story is rooted in something deeper. It's a love of a person, a way of life, and a lifelong relationship with art, all told in the wide open style of West Texas. This story comes with its fair share of sandstorms and beauty. It's filled with dust-covered highways, long shadows at sundown, and the kind of desert flowers that bloom when no one expects them to. At its heart are our friends Terry and Jo Harvey Allen, two artists who have built a life and legacy that blur the lines between the personal and the creative. Terry Allen is a musician, visual artist, and playwright, born and raised in Lubbock, Texas. Known for his genre-defying records like Juarez and Lubbock on Everything, Terry has long been considered a pioneer in alternative country and progressive art circles. His songs carry the dust and drama of the American West, and his visual art has been exhibited in major museums across the country and more. Jo Harvey Allen is a writer, actress, poet, and performance artist whose voice is as unmistakable as her presence. She came up in a world of radio and poetry and quickly carved out her own space in theater, film, and spoken word. Her performances explore everything from small-town life to the larger themes of identity, place, and memory, all with the sharp eye and wit of someone who has lived what she writes. Together, Terry and Jo Harvey have spent decades creating work that is bold, original, and deeply rooted in their sense of place. From sculpture and songwriting to film and performance, their partnership has been as dynamic as it has been enduring. This episode isn't just about their relationship. It's about how a creative life can unfold over time. And it's about the way two people can evolve individually while still building something lasting together. And it's about how the land, the light, and the spirit of West Texas have been both a muse and a mirror in their story. It is also something that cannot be limited to just 50 minutes. So we're excited to say this will be a two-part series, because one canvas isn't big enough for the bigger picture. I'm your producer, Clara Rose, and this is Americana Podcast, the 51st state.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Americana Podcast, the 51st state. Today, we are talking to Jo Harvey and Terry Allen, and I wanted to say thank you for inviting us into your home and allowing us to do this podcast with you today.
You're welcome.
So welcome. All right, and I'm just going to give our audience a little bit of a rundown about what you've done in the world of art and music and theater. It's just astounding. But I'm going to start with Terry for a second. Terry Allen has 12 albums that he's put out to date. I think there's another one coming out pretty soon. His visual art is represented by the New York Museum of Modern Art, Institution of Art in Detroit, Museum of Art in Kansas City, San Diego Museum of Contemporary Art, LA County Museum of Art, New York Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Musée Saint-Pierre in Lyon, France, Houston Museum of Fine Art, San Francisco Museum of Modern Arts, Dallas Museum of Art, LA Museum of Contemporary Art, and that's just to name a few. Jo Harvey is an actor who's been in the following and more, but the following: True Stories, The Homesman, which I really love The Homesman, by the way, Fried Green Tomatoes, The Client, Secondhand Lions, The Valley of Eli. Is that Ella? Ella? The Valley of Ella. That's the one with Tommy Lee Jones.
That's really good.
Yeah. Right. And both of them appeared in Killers of the Flower Moon. Was that your first acting job there, as far as like on film?
Yeah. As far as Scorsese goes.
And I want to say, I never could watch the entire movie for some reason. I got kind of stuck on a few things that I didn't really care for. But in my opinion, and so many people's opinion, the part where you and Jo Harvey sit on a porch and just riff, I think, is the
We're
people's
sitting
favorite.
Yeah, we're sitting in the dining room making fun of little kids.
Yeah, right.
Two little, beautiful
We were
little
very
children.
bad people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told Scorsese they should bill us as the two assholes, Jo Harvey and Terry Allen.
Well, anyway, your part together seemed to be the favorite part of many, many people about that
Well,
about
those
that
many
movie.
people were so-called friends of ours.
Oh wow! I had people saying, "Who are those two people talking about? Who are those two assholes making fun of little kids?" Right? That's just some of the things that both done in their lives, and their lives started together back in the early '60s. Wasn't that when you were married? It
actually started in the 50s.
50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started when we were 10 and 11.
Really?
Yeah, at a dance.
I had a dance at 10, 11?
First dance.
It was a Rainbow Girls dance, which nobody knew what a rainbow was in Lubbock. That's what they called it.
They knew what a dust bowl was in Lubbock, right?
Yeah, but no, Jo Harvey was what? You were 11.
Terry was 10.
I was 10.
10.
But we didn't screw till we were 12.
Yeah.
and we bobbed all night at the first dance. We were already really good dancers.
I remember in Chippy specifically that Terry was a really good dancer, and I forgot the name of the director there, and I was trying to copy Terry's steps, and she says, "His steps are complicated and they're complex. You can't manage those. Just sort of put one foot in front of the other."
No, she said his steps are wrong. That was when we were in our underwear, right?
Yeah, we're in our underwear singing the Cocksucker's Ball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
How did you
Robert
drag me into something like that?
I don't know.
I had to explain that to my parents.
It really wasn't very hard.
It was really funny when your pants fell off on stage, and I went to sleep during one whole time when I was supposed to lie on the bed, and I woke up at the perfect time. It was my cue. I went sound asleep.
And I remember, it still rings out loud in my memory, Jo Harvey, you sing every day at rehearsal, "Hello, Sunshine Boys." Yep, that was the band, the Sunshine Boys.
SBs.
Yeah, that were good. But so let me go ahead, and you met in like 10 and 11 and just continue to be together from then on?
53.
Really? Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't.
Well, not exactly like that.
It was, we got to be really good friends in high school. And then we stopped being friends when we started going together when we were seniors in high school.
We could not leave each other alone.
Yeah. And you still can't.
And we still can't. And we're still like really deviling each other about every other hour. It's a good thing to mess.
So I want to, first of all, Terry and Jo Harvey, since we started, Claire Rose and I started the podcast, we have been wanting to talk to y'all. I mean, from the very beginning, I was like, we got to go there. And she goes, well, we can go anytime. Let's go anytime. So 6 years later, we're here.
Well, it's any time now.
And so yeah, and things happen in their own time. And it's, I think this is a really good time to be here to talk to y'all about what's going on. I first heard heard your music on Lubbock, on everything. And I was in a play in Austin called Nashville Road, and one of the main players there was just, you got to listen to Terry Allen. So we go over to his house and listen to Terry Allen, and this guy he was a real fun, like theater people are. It was just really fun. We had theater things like where we do a weird talent contest where, there was a little drinking involved. Anyway, but where I finally had it all come together, and I'd like to talk about this, was this thing called the Paul Drescher Quintet, which is, I thought it was just a musical thing, and it turned out to be your play, the play that you wrote together, correct?
Yeah.
Pioneers.
With the person, Wendy Eckert, the three of us wrote it.
Person,
Yeah,
Three
with
of us
another
wrote it.
person.
Yeah.
And
And I did the sets and also some of the music.
right.
Well, a couple of songs.
Well, when you talk about the set for a minute, since you do so much design and stuff.
The sets were all couches.
Yeah.
They were in different configurations. Like a couch turned on its end would be a telephone booth, which don't even exist anymore,
Right.
I guess. And then one of them was like a stagecoach that went across the stage. There was a mountain of ice that these explorers climbed and planted a flag at the top, and they went across cushions of ice floes. But it was taking these couches and kind of suiting them to whatever the situation was with the characters in the piece. And then there was one that was lifted way up in the air, and a guy that was being frozen, cryogenically frozen, was inside it. It was in plastic, and he was kind of singing and moving his hands and stuff. But I don't know where the couch idea came from, other than I know when I was first working on Juarez, I did a lot of drawings of couches, and I kept calling it the seats of vision. And I kept thinking of them as these kind of places where things get activated. Where you're sitting on your ass, but your mind becomes active. But couches they were always kind of an image that I wanted to deal with. And I had this opportunity to do it. And
so Pioneers was a musical, or you mentioned before it was somewhat of an opera?
Well, it was an opera, actually. Yeah.
In that, I don't recall that you were singing. I do recall, Jo Harvey, that you came out at the first of the show and just spilled out this freeway of profanity for like 3 minutes or something. It was an audience shocker, and everybody didn't know what's going on, and it took place at that point. But so you were really the somewhat the voice of reason, or the observer
you
there.
Would think so, but I was a recent widow, and all the arias were based on Columbus's letters. And so the performance,
explorers.
And the performance was two opera singers and myself. We were the actors. And so I was basically being mistreated by these big old white explorers and men through history. And I was the recent widow. So that was the basic thing. At the end of Terry's sets, I have to say, we're torn to smithereens. There were blowtorches going, and everything collapsed, and a yellow convertible drove across the stage.
Yeah, the couches.
I am sorry.
Had a happy ending.
I have to say, I apologize to our audience for you not being able to see this. It was a visual cornucopia of surrealism almost. And so from there on, when you were in California, so you moved to California together. Is that correct? Pretty much. You went to the school?
I went first.
First, you went to the school at Shadart?
Yeah. Yeah. I went to the art school, and while I was out there, I called Jo Harvey and proposed to her over the phone. Actually, in the Normandy.
Way to go, Terry.
Normandy Hotel, which is where Malcolm Lowry was writing his book. I can't remember it, but it's one of his books. He was working on.
Right, at the same time.
Yeah.
And then when you came out, was that the beginning of the Rawhide and Roses radio show?
The only thing I ever really knew I wanted to do was have kids. And so we'd been married 5 years before we had Buck and Bale, and trying all the time, but just thought we were ready to adopt. But anyway, Terry walked in the door and said, "Are you going to do anything else besides just be at home?" And I just made up, I'm going to go to radio school on the spot. I don't think it existed. The next day, Terry walked in and said, "Are you still doing that?" I go, "What?" And, oh, yeah. And he said, "Well, I got your radio show." So it was the first underground rock station in the country, KPPC, and the basement of Pasadena. Presbyterian Church in Pasadena.
That was the PPC.
Yeah, KPPC. So, nobody had ever heard a woman on the radio at that time, and never anyone that was such a sweet person as me talking about my family in Lubbock all the time.
And so what you were doing apparently had, you attracted a lot of listeners from this, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were playing a lot of music that people hadn't heard, I think, at least heard on the radio. And I think, like I told you, I think we probably were the first people to play Willie Nelson in L.A. probably.
Really?
Because, and so we were getting music from Texas and different places. But the programming, I think, was also, it was always thematic. Like one week it would be truck drivers, one week it'd be animals, one week it'd be, illicit love. And so all of the songs. But then Jo Harvey, who was the DJ, no matter what the theme was, she always just talked about her parents in Lubbock and growing up in Lubbock, and it worked.
So you were talking about
how? I have no idea.
You introduced the song? Is that how that came about?
Well, yeah. One time Linda Ronstadt was on there, and we just giggled the whole time. I don't know that we ever played any of her songs. We just did. It was real loose, and nobody had ever heard anything. It was like from outer space. So it was a popular show. And of course, because you could say anything in the world on an underground rock station, we had a lot of listeners, and everybody that came to LA to perform wanted to be on the show because that, people were listening to that.
This is the coolest thing in town.
Well, it was the most different thing they've ever heard.
Yeah, it was like you go in there like, 7 sometime in the morning, would stay up all night working on that song list or whatever. And it would be like walking into a San Francisco fog bank. There'd be so much marijuana smoke coming out of it. So we tried to get copies of the shows, and the guy that was the engineer that was making the copies was so stoned that we got copies, but they were so piecemeal that you never knew what show was going to pop into one show or the next show or who was. So there was that element that was always present.
But like in Fresno, you did some teaching as well?
Yeah, that's how we got there. We'd left L.A. because we were pretty beat up by L.A. by the late 60s. And we moved back to Lubbock for like 5 months, which was a kind of a nightmare for me because it seemed like it just taken a giant step backwards into the abyss.
Right.
But we were there 5 months, and I had a studio that it was when I first wrote some of the first Juarez songs and did some of the first drawings for that body of work and started that series. Then I got a job, I got an offer to teach it as a guest artist at Berkeley. And so we moved back to California. And the day we pulled in, we stayed in the motel. We didn't have any money hardly. We used our last money for a motel. And somebody robbed our VW bus. The next morning, everything was out. And so that was our reintroduction back into California. But after, I think I taught 2 terms at Berkeley, then I was invited to go to Fresno as a guest artist. And we went there, and the person that I was taking their place, they were on sabbatical. And so they opened up his position as a guest. And so they offered me a job. We had 2 little kids, and I jumped on it. I always thought of teaching as kind of like being in a deep, deep hole with a little money at the bottom,
But Terry was very productive.
Yeah.
The whole time he was teaching.
Yeah, I was starting to show, and we were starting to play. Jo Harvey was starting to perform, and both of us were, kind of getting into what our lives were about.
And, our kids were in a place that we felt was similar to how we'd been raised in Lubbock. They were safe. We knew where they were. And one of us would stay home while the other one was traveling. We traveled probably all the time. but we alternated staying with the kids nearly all the time like that.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with our interview shortly. At Americana Podcast, we are keeping our ear to the ground while tracing our roots. And we wouldn't be able to do that without our friend and musical garden cultivator, Will Vogt. This is Will's Pick. South Texas Lawman, From the Horses and Hounds by James McMurtry. James McMurtry has a new record out, and it only reinforces what many of us already know. He's one of the finest songwriters America has ever produced. He doesn't write with flash. He writes with literary voice, crafting stories that sound like real lives, unfolding in a town just down the road. For many years, McMurtry has introduced us to characters we feel we already know. Men and women with grit, regrets, and a dry sense of humor shaped by hard living. Sometimes it's teenagers who don't quite fit in. Sometimes it's older folks carrying the same weight after a lifetime of tough breaks. He has a gift for capturing the voice of the disenfranchised. In his 8-minute masterpiece, Choctaw Bingo, he painted one of the most vivid pictures of multi-generational family dysfunction you'll ever hear in a song. His new track, South Texas Lawman, is a perfect example of that same talent. The lawman here isn't a clean-cut hero from TV westerns. He's weathered, morally gray, as much as a part of the dust and mesquite country as the people he's chasing. From the words of the song, you can picture him on that Padre Island sand with his demons swirling around as the waves hit the shore and he contemplates the end of his life. McMurtry's voice, steadied, unhurried, pulls you in while the band lays down just enough groove to keep the story moving. It's a stripped-back song that lets the words carry the weight. What makes the song hit home for Will is the setting. South Texas isn't just a backdrop, it's a character in the story. McMurtry captures the spirit of quail and cattle country along the South Texas border. If you've ever followed bird dogs across the sand sheet or driven a ranch road at dusk, you know the rhythm of this land, and you know that McMurtry gets it right in the song. Listening to South Texas Lawman feels like the end of a great day in the field. The sun slipping down, headlights catching mesquite branches, dust rising behind the truck, and the thought of a cold margarita waiting at the end of it all. That's McMurtry's gift. He doesn't describe a place, he inhabits it. And he gives us characters who belong to the land as surely as the quail hiding in the mesquite mottes. In a career of sharp songs, this one stands out. Rooted in a landscape Will knows well, but telling a story anyone can recognize. That combination, local truth with universal reach, is why James McMurtry is one of our very best storytellers. And that's why South Texas Lawman is Will's pick.
You're listening to Americana Podcast, the 51st state, and today we're talking to Jo Harvey and Terry Allen, how their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is just a stunning home. I was sitting there thinking, you know, this is like a recovery place without all the meetings and the lectures.
Hasn't worked on us, however.
It's just so serene and beautiful.
I can't remember ever recovering from anything.
We're a work in progress.
You were telling me earlier about your acting when you first really discovered that was a big part of you, and it just took over. I mean,
Yeah.
Can you explain that to me again?
Well, I was first in a wonderful play Terry did in a wrestling ring called The Embrace Advanced to Fury. And I wore the he character, and I wore clear plastic mask. And we had alter egos who were a man and a woman professional wrestlers in a real wrestling ring. It's just amazing play.
This is the play called The Ring?
Well, it was from a whole body of work called The Ring. The play was called The Embrace. Advanced to Fury.
Yeah. But, you know, I was very nervous about playing it. And but I would wear the plastic mask until the corners of my mouth were bloody, because I realized I felt like somebody else. And that was a great feeling, to really get into feeling like you were somebody else. And so it made me really want to do more acting. But the interesting thing about that is I was in a store once, years later, and there was a stack of those masks. And fondly, I went, like that was the person that I was playing with. And it was just bizarre. He had a mask. So it was this total anonymous people. I realized I wanted to be a starlet, and I really did. I answered a want ad for starlets in the LA Times.
Can imagine where that led.
They gave me the job immediately. Said, I was a Texas girl. I was young. They said, "Oh, yeah, you can ride a horse." Well, I'm terrified of horses, but I accepted the job. I wanted to be a starlet so bad.
Yeah. But then she found out she was escorting Japanese businessmen to Disneyland.
No, I got offered the job of Somatic Terry. I said, Terry, this is a great job offer for me. It's $100 a day. I said, all I have to do is go with Japanese businessmen to Disneyland, and I ride all the rides for free. And Terry said,
it shows how young we were when we got married. But even I knew.
Yeah.
Something was afoul.
We were in high school. Well, we're right out of high school.
Yeah.
But we flipped a coin. We'd stand underneath the Great Plains Life and look up, pretending we were in LA or New York. And we flipped a coin at which one we'd go to, and we went to LA. But we were teenagers then, and we married when we were 18 and 19.
New York.
That wasn't going to happen.
And went straight to LA. Yeah.
No.
And you were out there for
a decade.
A decade.
Yeah.
Well, we were in LA all the 60s, then we went to Bay Area in the 70s, and then went to Fresno. And we were there until 86. So we were in Fresno.
We were 17 years in Fresno.
17 years.
We were 17 years.
Same place to raise our children.
Getting mail in Fresno because we were traveling all the time.
Because of the place?
Because of our work.
Yeah, your work. Did this lead on to like your first record that you made, or had you made one before that time?
No, I put out a single called "Going to California" that I'd started kind of writing songs. Well, I wrote songs in high school basically to get in trouble, to get thrown out of school. I started actually writing songs when we got to LA. The first year we were there. And I think it was because there were so much music that was new that was coming out. New at that time was like Dylan and kind of all of that.
Burrito Brothers at that time?
Yeah, the Graham Parsons and that whole bunch. And I'd always liked to play and whatever, but I'd never been real serious about it until I got to LA and when I started going to art school. And I think LA was a perfect place to be in the 60s because everything was really breaking loose. Every kind of ism and schism was colliding with every other one, and it was just a very exciting time to be there. Plus the music was, driving. The music was probably the most kind of creative, explosive thing that was happening at the time, more so than visual art, as far as I was concerned. But and the war had a lot to do with that, the Vietnam War. But so it was just that kind of a period where everything was really kind of on fire.
There's some really famous Nashville acts. Sonny Throckmorton, for one, who became just like this super songwriter in Nashville, went to L.A. first, and he, kind of washed out, but he got the whole vibe of what was going on and how you could open up your songs, and they didn't all have to be drinking songs and all that business, So he wrote that, and then Vern Gosdin, who is my favorite country singer. Regardless of what anybody else says, absolutely my favorite country singer, and he was singing with maybe the Burrito Brothers or one of the other bands like them, and just a great singer. But the same thing happened was like he just didn't feel like he was making it out there, and he moved to Nashville and became a big hit. So there was a lot going on, and it sounds like at least Rawhide and Roses was pioneering in that it was such an open, free-form format.
Yeah, I think it was. It's like, also I was doing ads for records at that time. I was getting like $100 a pop to write an ad and record it for a minute. And we'd do things like I'd lay Jo Harvey down on the floor and sit on her and tickle her and talk about Captain Beefheart's new band, new album. Yeah. And That was our kind of our advertising theory.
So we can really shoot forward to like current times. You have an ad out now, Tacoma Boots
Yeah,
in
right.
Austin, Texas,
Yeah.
right? And that you're the voice. You're the voice.
I'm not sitting on anybody tickling.
Okay, yeah, but you are the voiceover on that. So
I am.
You had a lot of practice. I would like to mention, Terry, that you know, in the songwriting world, your songs have been covered by Sturgill Simpson, Bobby Bare, Guy Clark, David Byrne, Little Feat, Doug Somm, Ricky Nelson, Lucinda, and many others. So okay,
I usually introduce songs by saying, and this is another song Robert Earl did not write.
Well, you know, I mean, your songs are timeless, and you know, if you're interested in saying something different and making a point, I can't think of anybody that I'd rather go to find that kind of song. You know, and also you gave me the best advice ever about creativity, and I'll pass this on to our audience. Is I asked Terry, you know, what do you do when you get writer's block? And he said, you sit there in your chair with your pencil and your paper, and you don't go sharpen your pencil, and you don't go make a sandwich, and you don't get on the phone, and you don't do anything but sit there until it comes to you. And it might come to you in an hour, and it might come to you in a day. But that's what you do.
And still be sitting there.
Yeah, I've sat there for many hours waiting for that, using that same method, and I'll have to say it works. It's a little aggravating. It's kind of water torture, but
it kind of comes from Flannery O'Connor too, because that was her thing. She always went to that typewriter at a certain time every day, and even though she was sick or whatever, but she said, because I want to be there when it happens. You know, I don't want to be somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. I understand that. You know, you do go along in this world, like in the world of art or creativity, and for me, you can feel it. And if you're driving your car or you're at a cocktail hour somewhere or something like that, you can feel it. And you think, it's passing me by here. I need to get the hell out of here and do something with it, right? I mean,
it's just so mysterious too, you know, because you never know. You know, I was reading something the other day about somebody was interviewing Dylan about those early songs that he wrote. And he said he couldn't remember where he was, when he was. He said it was like a ghost told him what to do. But it was always something outside coming in, you know. And I think there's something to that, because you know how some songs can come like in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, the whole song can come to you. And other times it's years, you know. Like for me, I've had songs that I thought were 2 songs, and you're working 2 songs over and over, and then suddenly I put them together and realized it's one song all the time. This has been, and I first kind of encountered that with my Juarez record that I worked with, which was my first record. But you know, I think it is such a mysterious act to make a song, for a song to happen to you. You know,
for me, it's kind of an explosive moment, especially the ones that you're talking about, like the 2 and 3 minute kind of songs. They're just there.
Yeah,
it's almost sometimes like it's already written for you.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
that's it. Is that how it works with your poetry?
You know what? Yeah, I mean, one poem that I like the best that I ever wrote, I walked in the kitchen door, and for no reason, I have no idea why, I wrote it down. I flat in like 2 minutes. It was a short poem, but
say it. There's the poem. Can you remember it?
Shuck some corn. When the stalks break off, the husk skinned, the silk's gone, the ear boiled. Gobble and gnaw and suck it raw till there's just a cob, no more. Strip off my mama and my daddy and my lover and my babies and my grandbabies and all of theirs and all of my friends and all you've taught me. All my skins have absorbed just like lotion. Strip off the silks one by one, and what would be left? is a secret.
Please be sure to tune into part 2 of Americana Podcast, where we will be continuing our story of Jo Harvey and Terry Allen. In the meantime, we would like to thank our guests, Jo Harvey and Terry Allen, and our host, Robert Earl Keen. Americana Podcast is brought to you by Keen Productions. Audio edited and mixed by Brett Brock. YouTube edited and assembled by Katie Cranbeer, with original music by Kim Warner. Until next time, let the music play.